my name is Paula Chappelle Lang. I'm the artist in residence here at Paseo Academy of Fine and Performing Arts. Today we're going to be discussing ballet. Ballet was first codified in France, giving us the 5 positions we are familiar with today. They're first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. All right, thank you, ladies. In the early 20th century, the Ballet Russe made its debut under the direction of Sergei Diaghilev here in the States. Some of the dancers decided to stay. The most well-known are George Balanchine, founder of the New York City Ballet, and Adolphe Baum, the first director of the San Francisco Ballet. Along the way, African Americans became interested in this art form called ballet. There were several companies that started. The American Negro Ballet Company, formed in 1934, the New Negro Art Theater Dance Group, First Negro Classic Ballet in Los Angeles, and by 1954, the New York Negro Ballet. But because of the sign of the time, most of them didn't last. Although the companies may not have lasted, during that time, the African-American ballerina was definitely making her debut. Janet Collins and Raven Ann Wilkinson, these women were forging the road for Lauren Anderson, Misty Copeland, and Michaela DePrince. Now, as you know, as a people, we don't give up. In 1969, a young man by the name of Arthur Mitchell left the New York City Ballet and along with Carol Shook founded the Dance Theater of Harlem, an all-black ballet company which still to this day mesmerizes people all over the world. Now, one secret you probably didn't know is that Paseo has its own history rooted in the Ballet of Kansas City. Tonette Tomeo, then Tonette Biggins, a graduate of Paseo, was the first African American in 1975 to be a member of the Kansas City Ballet. Now, as you can see, the ladies back here have been demonstrating a series of exercises that we usually do at the bar. Usually there are 9 exercises, and it usually takes about an hour to do. Well, today we're not going to take up all of that time, but I will tell you some of the benefits of ballet. Ballet strengthens the body's core, legs, balance, flexibility, alignment, and overall body conditioning. Now, what I'm going to have the ladies do, I'm going to have them step away as soon as they're finished with their pliés, okay? And then after they finish, we're going to demonstrate a few things that we do in the center for a ballet class. Okay, the first exercise the ladies are going to demonstrate in the center is an adagio. Adagio means slow movement. Ladies. Now you saw the adagio. The next thing you're going to see is a tendu combination, but we're going to add a pirouette. Pirouette is a turn, and tendu is literally, stretching your foot, point the foot, and close. That's a tendu, right? And so we're going to do our tendus with a pirouette. All right, we have Jalen for this one. Now we have Faith, and Faith is going to demonstrate a petite allegro and small, fast beats. Okay? Hold on. Okay, and now what we have after the petite allegro is a grande allegro, which is big jumps, which Jalen will now demonstrate. 6. Keep going. Okay. At the end of every ballet class, we do what is called a reverence. That's a way to thank the audience. That's a way to thank your peers and your teacher. So here we go, and we're stepping out. And finish. We're done. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for watching.
Kindergarten is great at Kansas City Public Schools.
I know they have really good teachers. I know this is a great school.
They teach them stuff that I thought my kids would never be able to know at the age of 5.
Since deciding to send our kiddos to a neighborhood school, we've become even more of a part of our community.
Now is the time to enroll your future kindergartner for the new school year. Visit enrollkc.org today.
Hello everyone, I'm so glad you stuck with us. In the last segment, you just heard Cara talk about how to put your instrument together, how to care for your instrument, how to get that first sound on the head joint, and she also demonstrated how to play a B-flat major scale, one of the techniques that you will learn in beginning band. So now we're moving to the middle school level, or what we would call the intermediate level, and we have Ashlyn Loss. She is an 8th grader at West Ridge Middle School, and we're going to talk about breathing and sound quality, tone quality, using long tones, and using vibrato. So these are such great things to build upon from your beginner level. So after you've been playing for a couple of years, you're now in middle school, and these are the things that you're going to learn. So Ashlyn, are you ready to show us what you are made of? Let's start with some long tones. Here's Ashlyn. I'm here with Ashlyn today. She is going to demonstrate the intermediate level of flute playing on learning how to play an instrument. So Ashlyn, we are going to talk about how to produce that great sound, tone, vibrato. What is that word? So she's going to show us these things. So if you are in middle school, this is your level, okay? So you've already seen the beginners of how you start to play an instrument. Now you've reached the intermediate level of playing. So let's talk about breathing and sound and tone and all of those good bits, right? Okay, so the first thing that we want to do when we want to have a good sound is always have a great breath, right? Because we can't get sound until we put the air through the horn. So we want to make sure that we're relaxed. Are you relaxed? Mm-hmm. Let out all of our air, right? So let's just start with a long tone. So if you want to get better with having a mature sound, I would always start with slow practice and with long tones. And what long tones are, pick a note. I normally like to start in the middle of my flute and then work my way down, because on our instrument it's our lower octave that we want the big sound, and then I work my way up because the upper octaves tend to come out easily anyway. So I'm going to play a sound. I'm going to start on B natural, and then I'm going to go down chromatically. We'll talk about chromatics in our next segment, and then we're going to try to match the sounds. I'm going to start on B. We've done this before. So. All right, you go. Try B on B natural. Nice. So what she's trying to do is emulate what I'm doing. So when you're listening to get a good sound and good tone, is that we want evenness. We don't want to have any waves during our sound. So nice and steady. So we don't want to hear da, 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 da. We just want to hear da, right? Yep. Yep. So let's try it again. Let's make sure that we're getting the best sound possible. And this is kind of a slow thing, but it develops our ear and we develop a more sophisticated hearing. All right. So let's try B natural again. I'll start first. All right, so I had a little bit of discrepancy. I don't know if you caught it, but I did. So let's see if Ashley can do better than me. That sounds pretty good. I think she did a little bit better than me, you guys. So now we're going to take that sound and we're going to use it on our other notes. So we want to remember what we did on that note, and then we're going to use it on our other notes. So we're going to go from B natural to A, just down a half step. I'll go first, okay? So we want to make sure we get a nice deep breath. So I told you A, we're going to go from B to B flat, okay? No breath in between. Good, not bad, right? So these are just some exercises that you can do, long tones, to develop a really great sound and to develop that sophisticated ear. I would work on these with a tuner, and you can find your tuner, especially if you have a smartphone, you can download it for free at any app store. So make sure you have a tuner and a metronome, and I promise you will have the best practice. All right, so we're moving on. Ashlyn has a great sound and great tone, and she's breathing perfectly. All right, so we want to extend on that tone. So how do we get a more mature sound? And I had said with that, you have to use vibrato. Can you say vibrato? Vibrato. Anyway, yes, vibrato. Vibrato is what we use as an effect, or you can really distinguish between the beginner player and the intermediate player by using vibrato. So how I teach vibrato is by pulses. So I will demonstrate on what I want Ashlyn to do. So we're going to do it on B natural, okay? Yeah. So. I don't know if you guys heard that, but I was doing these big waves going ta. All right? Ashlyn, you think you can demonstrate that for me on B? Here we go. Relax the shoulders. Here we go. Nice. That's pretty good. Good job. All right, so we take that technique and we extend on that technique until we are comfortable with that vibrato. We want to speed up that pulse. So let's see if we can get it faster. Can you try that? Nice. All right, and we're going to try one more. It's kind of like a game. How fast can you vibrato? But we don't want to get too tacky because we don't want to be that old lady at church going, in there and it's just all over the place. We don't want that. So we want to keep it nice and sophisticated. Maybe that's a good word. Yeah. All right, so let's try just a little bit faster. Give it a try. Wow. So Ashlyn has really been working on her skills and trying to get this whole new vibrato and mature sound. So let's take all of those things that we learned today, and Ashlyn's going to show us how to put all that together, and she's going to demonstrate an etude using great tone, and maybe you can catch some vibrato in some of her longer notes. Ashlyn, you ready? Okay. Wow, you sound amazing. All right, so Ashlyn did a wonderful job of demonstrating all of those techniques that we talked about today. So thank you so much, Ashlyn.
I love Southeast because of the culture, the band program, and restorative justice.
I love Southeast because of the academics, sports, and students.
I love Southeast because of the people, the energy, and the advanced classes.
It's not alike. I love Southeast because the students here at Southeast are full of potential and they believe in achieving anything.
We are Southeast.
Southeast.
We stand shoulder to shoulder.
Join the Southeast family. Enroll today.
Welcome back to PE with Coach K, and once again I am here in my gym at Foreign Language Academy. So today we're going to work on another fundamental movement. Last week we did locomotor movements, and today we're going to do non-locomotor movements. Non-locomotor movements are movements where you won't travel from one place to another. A lot of things are in one place. You're still moving your body, but you're not traveling from one place to another. So what you're gonna need for today is you're gonna need 3 water bottles. Two of them are gonna be filled all the way up, but one of them are gonna be filled about halfway, and I'll explain it to you later why I want one filled up halfway. If you don't have any water bottles, it's okay. Maybe you have 3 cups at home. I'm sure you have cups or anything that can replace a water bottle. So 2 of them are filled all the way up and 1 is halfway filled up. So the 3 non-locomotor movements that we're gonna go through today are bending, flexing, and kicking. No, kicking is not a non-locomotor movement. Kicking is a manipulative movement, and that's something that we're gonna work on next week. So we're gonna focus on bending, flexing, and another one that I will let you know once we get there. So the first locomotor movement is bending. When you think of bending, you can think of, when you bend your arms, when you look pointing at something, or maybe you're doing some bicep curls, or maybe you're bending over to stretch. When you think of flexing, the way I think of flexing is when we flex our muscles. You know, sometimes we want to flex, or when we're doing some bicep curls. So the first one that we're going to work on is bending. So you won't need your water bottles for this section. you're gonna use them for the next two, and I'll explain to you the other two. So the first one is bending. We're gonna see how many times we can do squats in 30 seconds. You're gonna see how many squats can you push out in 30 seconds. Now when you squat, you wanna make sure that your weight is in your heels and not your toes. So you're gonna have your feet maybe shoulder width apart, or if you feel more comfortable having your toes pointed out, you can. But you wanna make sure your weight goes back in your heels, your hips go back, your chest stays up, and you bring your hips forward and you come back up and straighten. Do not lock your knees all the way out. You wanna keep them slightly bent. So we're gonna see how many times can we do squats in 30 seconds. You don't have to go fast, you can go at your pace. And squats are a non-locomotive movement because we're doing what? Bending our legs, okay? The second one is balancing. Balancing is another non-locomotive movement that we're gonna focus on today. So when we balance, that's what we use our water bottle that is halfway filled up. For that reason, you are going to place it on your head. Find a good place for it. You're gonna try to focus in on one thing. You can balance with your feet on the ground, arms out, hands on your hips, whatever is comfortable. Or you can challenge yourself, lift a leg up, put it down, maybe lift another leg up, maybe lift an arm and a leg, and another arm and a leg, okay? And we're gonna see how long we can balance the water bottle on our head for 30 seconds. Remember, we're using the water bottle that's halfway filled up. And then the last one is flexing. So we're gonna take the water bottles that are filled all the way up, and we're gonna do some bicep curls, where you're gonna flex your bicep muscles, keep your elbows close to your body. You're gonna extend your arms, and then you're gonna bend them. Yes, you're gonna bend them because bending is a non-locomotor movement, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. Remember the first one, we don't need any water bottles, we just need our body. We're gonna see how many squats can we push out in 30 seconds. Are you ready? Because I am. Ready? We're gonna start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So let's go ahead and push them out. Make sure you're counting. Keep going. Remember, keep your heels down. Don't put your weight in your toes. Push your hips back. We got 15 more seconds. Keep pushing them out. Try to keep count. I think I lost count, but it's okay. Keep going. Keep your chest up. Don't bend over too much. You should start to feel this in your quads, which are the front part of your legs. 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I don't know how many I did, but I hope you know how many you did. You can write it down, and that way you can challenge yourself to do more at another time. You could do a longer period of time rather than 30 seconds. Maybe you do 1 minute or 1 minute and 30. So going on to number 2, which is our balancing portion. So go ahead, get your water bottle that is filled up halfway. Place it on your head. Find a good spot for it. I like to put mine right in the middle. Now, if you have a bun on your head, you're gonna have to figure out where you're gonna put it on your head. Focus in on something. Get ready. We're gonna start in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Remember, you can have your arms out on your hips. Can you lift one leg up? Can you lift another leg up? Maybe one arm. Maybe another arm. Maybe an arm and a leg. 15 more seconds. Maybe another arm and a leg. 10 seconds. Can you do a squat? Or just stand here in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, you deserve a drink because I need a drink. So moving on, remember you can always challenge yourself on another day to do a longer time, or maybe you want to fill the water bottle all the way up and make it heavier and harder for yourself. So our third one is flexing. Pick up those water bottles that are filled all the way up. And if you have bigger water bottles, that's cool. So go ahead and get in the position for your bicep curls. Your biceps are in the front and your triceps are in the back. So go ahead, we're gonna keep them extended, keep the elbows in. We're gonna see how many we can crank out in 30 seconds. Ready? Starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, let's go. We're gonna flex them biceps. If you need to go slow, work on your form. Form is always important. Speed doesn't really matter if your form is not correct, or if you got the form down, you wanna speed it up. Or maybe you have weights at home. Pick up some weights, make it heavier, and challenge yourself. 15 more seconds. How many can you crank out? Keep a slight bend in your knees. Don't lock them out. 10 more seconds. Push them out. I feel a little burn. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and shake it out. We're gonna do a quick bicep stretch. You're gonna keep your thumbs up, bring your arms behind you, and then turn your thumbs down. Okay, so as we bring this to an end, I wanna give you something to do on your own time, whether it's independently by yourself, or you can do it with a partner to get some type of motivation. So you're gonna choose one of the 3 non-locomotor movements that we did today, and you're gonna do them for 2 minutes. Let's say you balance. Maybe you balance on a chair safely, or you balance somewhere else in the house, or whatever type of balance you wanna do. Maybe your leg is up. Maybe you're a dancer and you wanna balance in your airbats. Whatever you wanna do. Or you can choose bending. Maybe you stretch for 2 minutes. Or you can choose, what else did we do? Bending, balancing, and flexing. Maybe you have some heavier weights at home. Maybe you can go in the gym or get some heavier water bottles. Whatever you want to do, I want you to choose one of those 3 non-locomotor movements and do them for 2 minutes. You can compete with a friend, a sibling, your mom, your dad, whoever's at home, just to make it a little bit fun. So before we end and leave, we want to make sure that we remember what we learned today during this segment. So today we went over one of the fundamental movements, which is a non-locomotor movement. What are non-locomotor movements? Non-locomotor movements are movements where you do not travel from one place to another. You stay in one area, you're still moving your body, just like when we did our squats, we balance and we flex. We did not move from one place to another. So remember, take some time, challenge yourself at home doing one of those non-locomotor movements, and I will see you next week.
I chose manual because it's challenging and fun, and it can help me with college.
I chose manual because I wanted to get a jump start in my career with culinary arts.
I chose manual to acquire skills I'd use in real life.
I chose manual because I want to be an ER doctor, and being an EMT is my first step.
Kickstart your future today at Manual Career and Technical Center. Manual is open for all 11th and 12th grade students in both Kansas and Missouri. Learn more today at enrollkc.org/manual or call 816-418-5200.
Welcome back to PE with Coach K. Today we are live in my gym at Foreign Language Academy. So for today's segment, we're going to dive deep into our PE, physical education, knowledge and terms. One of the fundamental movements that we're going to focus on today is locomotor movements. What are locomotor movements? Locomotor movements are movements where you travel from one place to another. So for our activities today, you are going to need 3 mats. You can have, I have mats, locomotor mats, or you can use 3 pieces of paper. And you can find 3 pieces of paper at home. I have construction paper, or you can just use regular white paper. And you want to spread them out, just like how I have down here. You want to make sure that they have some space in between each paper. So the 3 locomotor movements that we're going to focus on today are jumping, we're going to focus on running, and we're going to focus on walking. So when you think of traveling from one place to another, when you think about running, you can visualize a basketball game where you have players running from one end of the basketball court to the other end, meaning they are traveling from one place to another. When you look at jumping, I think about Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, where he goes from the ground to by the net when he dunks. He's jumping from one and traveling to another place, which is up towards where the net is. And walking, we walk from class to class if we were in school, or we'll walk in the mall, we'll take a walk on a trail, but we're traveling from one place to another. So we're going to focus on those 3 locomotor movements. Remember, locomotor movements is where you travel from one place to another. So when we do jumping, actually we're going to start with running. That way we can kind of warm up our bodies a little bit. So the first activity that we're going to do, I'm going to demonstrate 3 of them, and then we're going to do it together. So when we do running, you are going to do a figure 8. I'm just going to walk through it, but we're actually going to be running through it. So you're going through the paper, out, through, and out. So the goal is to not touch the paper on the floor at all. So I'm going to run. Let me demonstrate. You're going to run through. You're doing like a figure 8. Turn back around, and you do it again. Now, we're going to do 30 seconds of this running figure 8 through our papers. So when you run, through 1, through 2, I want you to touch the floor or whatever is nearby, and then you'll turn around and go back and touch the floor. So we're going to see how many times can you go down and back in 30 seconds. That's our running portion. Going into jumping, when we jump, there's 2 different ways you can jump. We're going to make sure it's still. The goal is to not touch the papers on the floor. So when you jump, you can jump going forward. Make sure you are jumping in that open spot between the 2 pieces of paper. Turn back around, or you can jump sideways and turn back around. Now you're going to see how many times you can do it down and back in 30 seconds. And our last one, which will give us a nice little cool down, is just walking. You can kind of think of it as you're doing musical chairs, where you're just walking around the chairs. You're going to see how many full circles can you make in 30 minutes. That will let our heart rate go down. We will use that as our cool down as we end our segment for today. So let's go ahead and get started. If you need to pause to put your paper down on the floor, line it up, make sure you have enough space so you're not running into anything or tripping over anything. So we're going to start with our running portion. 30 seconds. How many times can you run down and back doing your figure 8? We're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Make sure you touch the floor and go back. Keep going. Breathe. Come on, we almost there. 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, I hope you counted while you were running back and forth. I forgot to count. But I want you to remember your number, write it down, put it in your phone, put it in your notes, wherever you place any information at, remember it. And that way, to improve, you can challenge yourself to do it another day. Maybe you can do it for a longer period of time and to challenge yourself to see if you can get higher than what you did today. So we're gonna take a breath before we go into our jumps, because today we're focusing on running, jumping, and walking. We did running, one of the locomotor movements. Now we're going to jump. We're gonna see how many times we can go down and back in 30 seconds. So catch your breath. We got 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then turn back around and do it again. Try not to touch the papers on the floor. We got 10 more seconds. Be careful. Stay light on your feet. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, remember that number. Write it down somewhere. How many times were you able to go back and forth during your jumping? Challenge yourself on another day to see if you can get a higher number or go for a longer period of time. So once again, let's catch our breath. Breathe in through your nose and then out through your mouth as we go to our third segment, which is walking. This is our cool down. Remember, we're walking around in circles. How many full circles can we do in 30 seconds? Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, and let's go. So breathe. You can use this time. Catch your breath. If you want to speed walk, if you still have some energy, you can. But let this be your cool down. How many complete circles can you make? 30 seconds. We only have about 15 seconds left. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And you can also write that number down. How many were you able to complete? Challenge yourself to get a higher number or walk for a long period of time. So as we bring this to an end, what I want you to do at home is I want you to choose one of the 3 locomotor movements we did today. And what were those? Running, jumping, and walking. You're gonna choose one of those and you're gonna use it. You can do it with a friend, you can do it by yourself, but I want you to pick one of those and I want you to perform it for 2 minutes. You can do exactly what we did today, or instead of running through pieces of paper, you can run outside or maybe jog outside for 2 minutes, or maybe run around your house for 2 minutes. Instead of walking around a circle, maybe you can walk through your house or walk a long distance from your house to the store, whatever you can do. And instead of jumping through the pieces of paper, maybe you have a rope at home and you can jump rope for 2 minutes. But I want you to challenge yourself to choose one of the locomotive movements to do for 2 minutes. Now you can up it 3 minutes another day, go maybe 3 minutes and 30 seconds, whatever you do to help improve your ability in doing locomotor movements. So as a review, before we end and we leave, we want to make sure that we remember what we learned during this segment. One of the fundamental movements that we went over today is locomotor movements, where you are traveling from one place to another. 3 of those locomotor movements that we covered are jumping, walking, and running, because we are traveling from one place to another. So I just want to remind you to challenge yourself at home with a friend, maybe make it a competition. That way you can improve your skills and movement in locomotor movements. And I hope to see you next week.
The desire to create lives within each of us. From Grammy-winning producers and musicians, to NBA stars, to Navy admirals and Medal of Honor recipients, to internationally renowned artists and beloved local muralists, Paseo graduates have been creating their own success, their own history, their own legacy since 1920.
Hello everyone, my name is Chef Dan Hogan and I'm one of 2 of the culinary instructors here at Manual Career Technical Center with Kansas City Public Schools. Today's lesson is going to be one of my favorites. 1, because it's a dessert. 2, because it's really simple and it's really quick and it's also very delicious. So our dessert today is going to be a shortcake. All right. Traditionally, it's a berry shortcake or a strawberry shortcake, but we're going to do a couple little twists today just to make it a little bit more interesting. So the first component of our shortcake is going to be the shortcake itself. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is make a biscuit. This is a typical biscuit that's very easy to make, very simple. These are our ingredients right here. We have all-purpose flour. So we have our measuring cups. We're going to measure out 2 cups of flour. So we want to make sure that our cup is full so that we get a proper measure. All right. Let's get a little bit more in there. All right. So we're going to put all of our dry ingredients into a bowl. We have our 2 cups of flour. Next we have baking powder. One tablespoon of baking powder. We're going to do 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Even though this is a dessert, we still want a little bit of salt in there just to help bring out the flavor of the other ingredients. We want 2 teaspoons of sugar. And we have 4 ounces of butter. So right now my hands are clean. So I'm going to get my dry ingredients nice and mixed with a fork. And we're going to put our cubed chilled butter right into our dry ingredients. So now we're just going to kind of choke up on our fork a little bit because we're just going to get in there and squish our chilled butter up against the side of the bowl. Just smush it. All right, that's one technique. I'm going to show you another technique. I like to just get in there with my hands. Now, as Chef Tom mentioned in his video, I don't have to wear gloves for this because this is not a ready-to-eat food. All right, obviously these biscuits are going to be baked, so I do not need gloves on for this. However, you do have to wash your hands before you get in here and start mixing with your hands. Okay, we're almost ready. So one important tip when making biscuits is you want to leave your butter a little bit chunky. We'll just kind of sift through that and kind of see some of the chunks of butter. You want to see some chunks of butter in there, no bigger than like a size of a pea or an eraser head. Right. So now that we have our butter cut into our dry ingredients, we're going to add some water. So we want ice cold water. We want 3/4 of a cup. But we don't want ice in there. And the amount of liquid may vary depending on the time of the year. If it's very dry, then you may have to add a little bit more moisture to your biscuits. If it's very wet and humid, you may not need as much. Just gonna get in there and give that a mix. And I think we may need a little bit more liquid. Now this recipe is very versatile. Today we're using it as a shortcake for dessert, but you also can just use it just as a breakfast biscuit, or if you wanted to do like beef stew or for an entree, you can just use this same recipe. I would just subtract the sugar. That way it's not as sweet. Right. So next, we're gonna get this turned out onto a floured surface. And then we're gonna bring it together on our table. So that did not take long at all. You don't wanna overmix it. If you overmix it, you're gonna develop the gluten in it. And the gluten is what's gonna make, if you ever had a biscuit that's tough and rubbery and just not flaky, not very good, more than likely the gluten was overdeveloped. So to keep from overdeveloping the gluten, you want to handle it as little as possible. I don't like to use a rolling pin when I make my biscuits. One, it's just one more piece of equipment that I have to clean up. And as you can see, your hands are already covered with your ingredients. So I just like to use my hands. And you just want to pat that out to about maybe 1/2 inch thick. All right. So two ways to cut your biscuits. We have a cutter. If you don't have a cookie cutter or a biscuit cutter, you can just use like a glass, just a regular drinking glass, and you'll get the same effect. All right. All right, so we're just gonna make 2 for now. We have our pan. All right. Next step before we put these into the oven, we're gonna brush our biscuits with a little bit of water. Just a little bit. And then we're gonna sprinkle the tops with sugar. Again, since this is for a dessert, we want a little bit extra sweetness on there. So we have our biscuits ready for the oven. So we're gonna come over to the oven. And to save time, we have some biscuits that are already made. Remember, those are gonna be hot coming out of the oven, so make sure you have a dry towel to take those out of the oven so you don't burn yourself. Okay, now that our biscuits are done, we're gonna work on the second component to our dessert, which is our filling. Again, typically a shortcake is strawberry shortcakes or a berry shortcake, but I also bought some peaches so that we can do a peach shortcake. So any fruit can work with this. So whatever your favorite fruit is, if you just want to do a strawberry, if your family or yourself just like blackberries, so don't feel like constricted to just use one fruit. All right, the possibilities are endless. So let's start with the peaches. So we have a nice peach here. We're gonna cut that in half, right on the little seam. That's the best way to cut it. We're gonna cut down through the pit. Just give that a twist and it'll come right open. We have our paring knife. So again, I'm working with ready-to-eat food, so I have gloves on. So remember, what's a ready-to-eat food? A ready-to-eat food is anything that's gonna go from your cutting board or from a container straight into someone's mouth. So like all of this would be an example of a ready-to-eat food because it's fresh, it's ready to eat. Anything that has to be cooked, then you don't have to wear gloves because once you cook it, you're gonna kill any potential bacteria that may be on that food. All right. Get our peaches cut. Yeah, it doesn't have to look pretty and fancy. You just want to get them cut smaller than bite size. We'll get those in a bowl. I'm just going to set these aside for now. And then let's do some berries. We have some nice fresh raspberries, some blackberries. We'll do a few strawberries. I got one that's already done. Strawberries, we're just going to slice. Okay. Have some really nice looking blackberries. The blackberries I am going to cut in half just to help it get some of the juice out of them. Okay. Next ingredient is we're going to add some sugar. And you can do this to your taste. If you want a sweeter dessert, you can add more sugar. You don't have to add sugar at all if you don't want it. Just depends on your preference. We're gonna add a little bit of orange juice to each one. So now what we're doing now, it's called macerating. Chef Tom talked about marinating, but with fruit, we're gonna macerate. Right, so what this does, it just kind of, the sugar and the acid from the orange, is just going to bring the natural juices and the natural, I can't say that word, natural liquid from the fruit. Right, so at this point, all we have to do is just give that a stir. All right. And it's best to do this at least 4 to 6 hours ahead of time. Overnight would be even better. Again, that way we can get maximum flavor from our fruit and just kind of let that fruit absorb the sugar, the orange, make it really taste good. And plus we're gonna see how much liquid. If you look now, there's not much liquid in there, but 4 to 6 hours later, we'll show you what it's gonna look like. All right, our last step to our shortcakes. We have our biscuits, that was the first step. We have our macerated fruit. So as I mentioned, if you take a look at this now, you'll see the difference. All of this is just the natural juice from the fruit. And that's what we want because that's going to be our sauce component for the shortcake. That way we have that moisture so that the shortcake isn't too dry. The last component is going to be whipped cream. So I'm going to show you guys the whipped cream is so easy, so simple, and it's pretty fast as well. It's much better than the Cool Whip, which you buy from the freezer. It's much better than that Ready Whip can. Once you try fresh, you'll never want to eat that processed whipped cream again. So we have heavy cream in a mixing bowl. We want to make sure it says heavy cream or whipping cream on the container. Any other milk product will not work, so it has to be heavy cream. We have some pure vanilla extract, and we have powdered sugar. 3 ingredients, that's it. No preservatives, no chemicals, none of that stuff that's not good for you. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna get in there and just whip it. See how loose it is now. And this is gonna take a few minutes to get it to this consistency. So by whipping it in a circular motion like I'm doing, you don't want to stir it like this, like it's a cup of coffee. You actually want to whip it. What that is allowing to happen is air to get into the cream, and that air is going to help fluff it. You do not have to do this by hand. You can use your electric mixer. That'll work just as fine. This will also give you a good workout. The way you can do it, one arm gets tired, just switch arms. Okay. So as you can see, it's already starting to thicken. So again, most important part about this dessert use the ingredients that you like. Again, if you don't like peaches, don't use peaches. If you like berries, if you like strawberries, just use strawberries, right? There's no one right way to eat this, or wrong way to eat it, rather. Do what suits you best. All right, see how that's almost thick? All right, we're gonna leave that for now. I have some that's already made. I'm just gonna clean up my little spot here. You will get a little bit messy, but it's worth it. So we're gonna make two. We're gonna do a berry and we're gonna do a peach. So we're just gonna take our biscuit. This is how I like to do mine. There's, again, no one way to do it. We're gonna get a nice spoonful of berries on there with some of that liquid. We're gonna put a nice big dollop of whipped cream on there. I like a lot of whipped cream, so. And then you're gonna put your cover on there. All right, let's do the peach real quick. So this one, we'll change it up. We'll put some whipped cream on the bottom. Again, there's no wrong way to do it. Put our peaches on there for a top. The last thing we can do is kind of dust it with a little bit of powdered sugar if you like. And they're ready to eat. All right, so I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching this. I hope you learned something. I hope you try this really simple dessert. It's perfect time of the year for it. And enjoy. Thank you.
The desire to create lives within each of us. From Grammy-winning producers and musicians, to NBA stars, to Navy admirals and Medal of Honor recipients, to internationally renowned artists, and beloved local muralists, Paseo graduates have been creating their own success, their own history, their own legacy since 1926. Now it's your time. Create your future at Paseo Academy of Fine and Performing Arts. Learn more at enrollkc.org/Paseo.